Hello, welcome to He's Hot But Something's Off with me, just Joey T. This is the very first time that I forgot almost to record this week's podcast. So usually most weeks, I should look forward to recording this podcast because as you can tell by now, we're up to episode 23 or 24, some odd. I'm a pretty talkative person. And I actually have a lot of opinions, a lot of thoughts. So this week, though, I've just been really focused and concentrated on literally just work. So the business that I'm trying to start up, the proper business, not the side hustles, I met with a lawyer over the phone just to ask them, do I need permits? Is the company incorporated properly? Do I need to file any forms and things like that? And I'm really glad I invested in actual legal advice. I was talking to an actual lawyer cat person, and he's like, okay, you need this, you need that. This is where you go fill this out, and this is how you apply for that, blah, blah, blah. And these are things that I'm pretty handy with the internet, and I know how to Google stuff. Even still, just certain things, you need professional help for them to tell you, someone who's done it a million times and knows everything inside and out, for them to tell you. But it's very easy for them to say, okay, this is your situation, you need ABC, and this is how you get it. It was like a 30-minute call. I think it was only like 20 minutes. It was like 20 minutes. And it was like a super productive call. Very glad I paid for that service. It wasn't that expensive, honestly, to have that one call. Yeah, so that's going. And I'm also reaching out to a lab or like the manufacturer of the stuff I want to sell, and to get that on a roll. And this week, I also, for the first time, did like a proper calculation on how much the inventory is gonna cost me, because I need to like order the stuff first. Then the stuff will be with Amazon or whoever in a warehouse for them to ship out the orders. There's a little bit of capital that's involved when you're selling manufactured goods. You have to get the manufacturer to make it for you. And then once it's made, well, you have to pay for all that stuff up front unless you're getting some sort of weird kind of financing. So I'm going to have to pretty much buy these products like up front. I'm going to have to drop like tens of thousands of dollars out of my own portfolio, my savings, my investments, wherever it's going to come from. And it's going to sit in a warehouse with Amazon. And then the next step of that process is I need to market. And I'm not great at marketing, but it's something that I have a plan for. I have a vision in my head how the marketing, the sales, and all that's going to go. It's scary and exciting at the same time. Business is so different than just showing up to the office, doing a 9 to 5. You kind of know what to do in an office. But when you are running the whole business and you've not done it before, and there's like a chunk of money on the line, it's like a very scary, kind of exciting. So I imagine this is how all first-time business owners, the people who are starting a proper business for the first time, this is how they all must feel. So yeah, we will keep doing that, because I also keep an eye on the job market, just a regular job market. I'm not ruling out going back to do the 9 to 5 and having an employer, getting that steady paycheck, which is nice in some ways, got its pros and cons. But the market is not, well, at least for the type of job that I would want to do, it's not looking super great. There are not that many openings, and I just keep hearing layoffs, especially in tech. That I'm kind of sort of in that industry as well. So yeah. But anyways, hit some couple of milestones with the business, which is great. The side hustles are side hustling, so we'll keep on doing that. Oh, and also this week was the first time I sat down and did my monthly budget. I'm usually pretty good at doing a monthly budget. So once a month, at the start of the month or at the end of the month, I will basically go through every single transaction on my credit cards or in my checking accounts, on my savings accounts. And I guess this is what they used to call this, like balancing your checkbook or something. But basically, I look at all the money that's going out, all the money that's coming in, and I get to see where all my dollars are coming from and where they're being spent, what my money is being spent on, and where my income is coming from. So I haven't done that since March. So for a good part of this career break, I just haven't even been looking at the money. I'll always have a sense of how much money is coming in, but this is always coming in through my checking account. And I have a good sense of all the money going out because the vast majority of the money I spend is either something that it's coming out of the checking account, like the mortgage payment, or everything else is on a credit card. So there's not that many ways I'm spending money. And all the ways I'm spending money, it's some sort of thing that's tracked, right? I mean, anytime you make a transaction in your checking account, it shows up on your statement. Same thing with credit card transactions. I don't spend cash. I told you guys last week, I sold this messenger bag, Coach messenger bag, and they gave me cash. And that's like the one time every 6 months where I handle cash in any way, shape, or form. Short of like, well, I used to have to like put quarters in at the gas station to fill my tires with air, but I have a air inflator thing that I bought now, so I don't even need that. So there you go. This is not Smell-O-Vision, but you can watch this podcast on my YouTube channel, Just Joey T, or on Spotify. But I just came back from Korean barbecue, and I smell like Korean barbecue right now. So yeah, definitely. On the drive back, I opted not to have the AC. It was like 5:30, 6 o'clock. We went for early dinner, and had to drop all the windows because anytime you know you're going to get Korean barbecue, you have to you don't wear nice clothes, and it's gonna be clothes that you're gonna wash that night, or you're gonna have to throw it into the laundry hamper like right after. You have to like go home after Korean barbecue to like change out of clothes. Maybe wash it out of your hair. I bet that smell is in my hair, and get it out of the shower. Yeah, so it's like every Korean barbecue place that you go to, it has to have that. A server actually at Korean barbecue, she was like a younger chick. She was actually really, really fun. So I did notice that. But yeah, you can't smell this, but I smell like Korean barbecue right now, for better or worse. And I was like, okay, I still have my hair done, and I still have the tinted moisturizer on my face. So once I just got home and I was like, you know what? Let's record the podcast that I forgot to record yesterday. This should have been posted on a Thursday. This is going to go up tonight. It's Thursday when I'm recording this, so I'm going to post it as soon as possible tonight. So it would technically be out on Thursday, but it would be Friday for some of you. All right. So this past weekend, I just came back from Vancouver, literally this past weekend. I flew out of Burbank Airport, and I don't know why I don't fly out Burbank anymore. For those of you that are not that familiar with Los Angeles, it's a little bit like New York in terms of like the airports. Well, there's LAX, Los Angeles International Airport, massive airport, clogged up roads all the time, way too many cars, not enough roads. And most people will fly into LAX, but they don't know the area. But there are quite a few other nearby airports in the general LA area that's really good to fly into, especially if you have a domestic flight. So there are no flights to go from the Burbank Airport, which is in Burbank, is north of like the regular city of Hollywood, but it's still in LA County. Honestly, the distance from West Hollywood, where I live, to Burbank is the same as if I were to drive to LAX, or because the traffic is not so bad, it's actually maybe like a little bit faster. It's like a 30, 40-minute drive. But the thing is, Burbank Airport, it's way less busy. Everyone just goes to LAX, right? So Burbank Airport is really nice to fly out of if you can, because it's way less busy. There's never a line for security. I've never seen a line up more than like 3 people in the TSA checkpoint. And the TSA checkpoint is like 3 lanes, and half the time they don't even need to open all 3 lanes because there's just not that many people there. So it's a smaller airport, but it's so not crowded. So that's like the awesome part of that. And parking is cheaper. Parking is like way easier. You don't have to like take a shuttle to go from the parking to go to the terminal. If you need to go from terminal to terminal, there's only 2 terminals there. They're tiny little buildings that are right beside each other. It's really, really great. So I'm starting to fly Burbank more and more when I can, instead of flying from LAX. So when I went up to Vancouver this time, I did fly over Burbank, but they don't do international flights there. So I flew from Burbank to San Francisco, a short hop away. Then from San Francisco International Airport, I hopped on my flight to Vancouver. The only interesting, well, two interesting things coming out of the Vancouver trip. Otherwise, it's like a very regular trip. First of all, every time I go back now, it's happened for the past couple years, I guess. Mom always has some sort of tech-related thing that I end up buying for her. She doesn't give me warning on these things, but like once I get there, it's kind of sort of I'm preparing myself that okay, I need to go to Best Buy at some point during this trip to like get something for you. Last time I went back, she got this security camera. You know those like security cameras you can get from Nest or Arlo, like just those webcam connected security cameras you can buy at Home Depot nowadays. And she got one from her neighbor, because her neighbor thought it was a good idea to have one in like the front porch. And like she's pretty close with the neighbors and stuff. It's like a little townhouse community. So she got one and she's like, "Oh, Joey, can you install this for me?" And I'm trying to explain to her in my not super fluent, very accented Cantonese that this is just security theater. Like, I'm going to mount it for you. This thing is not even wired. It uses batteries. You're not going to charge it, blah, blah, blah. But anyways, like, mom's almost 70, so, like, I don't argue with her that much anymore because, like, what's the use, honestly? So I mounted this security camera thing for her last time. Literally a month later, I got the email notification that the battery was dead and she hasn't charged it. But anyways, this time I went back. She has a Nintendo Switch. So many, many years ago, this would be in the 90s. Okay, you Gen Zers that are listening, you can get a history lesson from like before you were born. In like the late 80s, early 90s, we had a Nintendo console, game console. It was called the Famicom, for short for family computer. And this was back when we were in Hong Kong. And mom bought it for my brother and sister. This is when I was a baby. And she bought the Nintendo for my brother and sister when they were like really young. And then it was this like white and maroon thing. If you go Google search like Nintendo Famicom from like the late 80s or something like that, early 90s, it's this blocky looking beige and maroon thing. The controllers are wired because this is like 1989. And they slot on either side. They are stored on either side of this little boxy beige console. And that console lasted us until like well into the 2000s. Like this piece of electronic thing lasted like 25 years. Because what happened was when I was in high school, middle school, or whatever, now this is in Vancouver, this is in like the mid-2000s, mom would play that same Nintendo, but she would play Tetris. My mom loves to play Tetris. So we had this console set up for her in like a spare room that we had, like after my sister moved out and when she got married. And every once in a while, she would go turn the Nintendo on and play Tetris. And it was fine for that. And then eventually, that died. In like somewhere along the way in the 2000s, it died. And then when that died, I had to find something to replace the Nintendo. We need to get mom Tetris stat. And the Nintendo Wii had been out for, I think, like a couple of years by then. I'm a little hazy on the timeline, but the Nintendo Wii was out for a little while already. It wasn't like the latest, newest hot thing, but it was like a thing still. So I bought her a Wii because it was like the closest. It was the only console Nintendo was making, and a Nintendo console was the easiest way to get her classic Tetris. So bought her a Nintendo Wii. It was set up in like the main living room TV because that's like her personal TV anyway. She spends all her time in the living room. And then, we got it working to play classic Tetris, which is luckily a free game on the Nintendo Wii. Fast forward to last year or early this year. So 20 years later, another Nintendo console, another 20 years. I mean, that's a lot to ask for every electronics to last for 15 or 20 years and not have it just break. The Nintendo Wii breaks finally after like 15 to 20 years. So again, the same thinking as let's just get her whatever the current Nintendo console is, because for me, I didn't feel like doing lots of research, but it seemed to be the easiest way to get her Tetris again. The only console Nintendo makes these days is a Nintendo Switch. So I bought her a Nintendo Switch. I think it was earlier this year. Bought a Nintendo Switch. It comes with a dock, so it hooks up to the TV with the dock. That's perfect. She knows how to play it. Tetris was free. Classic Tetris was free, so downloaded Tetris for her. I went back last time, and she's like, Joey, they have this game that's like candies and like, it's like a puzzle game. It's got candies in it. Can you get it for my Nintendo? So I think she was talking about Candy Crush. By the way, I don't play games and I don't know these things. I know Tetris because everyone knows Tetris. Gen Zs, you don't know Tetris, like, but go read a book and go Google it. But I don't really play games. I have no games on my phone or tablet or any of my computers. I just don't play games. But I know of Candy Crush, but I don't even really know what it was. Apparently, it's a puzzle game. There you go. So she asked for something like that. And I installed some. Candy Crush is actually available for the Nintendo Switch. They don't actually make it for the Switch. They make it for phones, and I think they just make it for phones and tablets. So I found her some kind of sort of knockoff free version, and she's been playing that for like the last 2 or 3 months. The last time I went back, this past weekend when I went back, she's like, Joey, I still want to find that candy whatever puzzle game. Like this one that you got for me is not doing it. So I bought her like this other game that I thought was similar on the Nintendo Switch. It makes sense that you need to buy games for your consoles because, like I said, back in like the 80s or 90s, when you had to buy those cartridges or like the CDs or like the floppy disk that you have to like use an adapter to like insert into your game console, you have to buy those or bootleg them for like 50 cents or whatever. But games are like, this game I bought her, it was like the original version for like $30, or you buy like the new version for like 60. It's like, this is a lot of money for a game. For a game that, first of all, there's no trial period, or I couldn't figure out there was a trial period. Like, once I buy it, like, I bought it, there's no refund. And the second thing is, I'm not even sure this is a game my mom wants to play because she was not good at explaining to me what she was looking for. And I don't play games and I don't know. So I bought her this game and it's not what she wants. I was like, okay, just flush $30 down the drain. So what ended up happening was I just installed Candy Crush on her phone. She has an iPhone. She has a hand-me-down from me, iPhone 11 Pro Max. It's 4 years old now, but for what she uses it for, it's overpowered, so she's fine. So I just assume that she doesn't want to stare at a tiny screen to play games. But whenever I ask her to use her phone for any reason, she does like the typical old person thing where she holds it away like 2 feet away from her, maybe 3, and she tilts her head up and she squints her eyes like she needs reading glasses, but I don't think she wears reading glasses when she goes out. So on her iPhone, the font is cranked to the absolute maximum size. I have some older friends that crank it up too, but for her, I made everything, all the menus, everything in Chinese. And the font is cranked. It's like, when I look at it, it's like, oh my God, it's an assault on my eyes. Every time I have to like change anything on her phone for her, first of all, I have to switch it to English. Second of all, I have to like dial down how big the font is in all the menus. But anyways, I just never thought to just give her Candy Crush on the phone. I was like just trying to do it on Nintendo because I just assume, well, she wants to play games on the TV. She doesn't want to like poke around on this tiny little screen, well, tiny for her screen. And I just thought she wouldn't want to squint at it. But I was like, I told her, well, you're looking for Candy Crush and it's only available on the phone. It's not available for Nintendo. And then she's like, well, can you just install it on the phone? I'm like, okay, sure. So I did it. Literally, we did this in the afternoon. We had a family dinner out at the restaurant that night. We got there a little bit early, so we were waiting for our table. And I've never seen her do this ever before. When her cell phone rings, it's like everyone knows her phone's ringing and she's the last to know. Like she barely answers her phone. Like we never call her cell phone because she cannot be relied upon to even know how to pick it up. Like she'll carry the phone. Sometimes she carries a phone, sometimes she doesn't. So we don't even know if she has a phone on her. Sometimes she hears it ring, sometimes she doesn't. By the time she hears it, it's too late. When she gets a phone call, she looks at her phone for a good 5 minutes before she figures out how to answer it. Like, it's at that level. So I just thought, like, she doesn't really like using the phone. We're out at dinner now, and we're waiting for our table. You know what she does? Like, without missing a heartbeat, she whips up her phone and she's playing Candy Crush. Like, literally, like, so fast. Like, what bored teenagers would do when they're waiting for something with their family. They whip out their phone and they'll be like on something, playing a game, be on Instagram, whatever. She whips her phone right out and she's playing Candy Crush. And my niece and nephew are there. So like, they're obviously like, you know, they're like 4 and 8. So anytime they don't have phones, obviously. So anytime, you know, they see someone's playing a game, doesn't matter if it's grandma playing a game, like they're all over it. But like, to play Candy Crush, my mom would know how to use a phone. To answer a phone call, she can't figure it out, and we can't rely on her phone to like reach her when she's out and about, which is like a little crazy. It kind of blew my mind that like she was playing during dinner. So like we got our table, we sat down, we ordered, and obviously like, you know, we're like making chit chat and like blah blah blah. And she's playing Candy Crush at the dinner table. She used to yell at me for reading magazines at dinner. So when we were eating at home, we never really ate at our dining room table. I would eat, we have this big kitchen island. I would eat in the kitchen island. And my thing, because I'm bored by eating, I can't just eat and not do anything, usually. I have to be like reading something. So when I'm at home now and I'm eating, if I'm at a dining room table, I've got my laptop in front of me and I'm reading something on the laptop. Or if I'm eating in the living room, I'm watching TV. Like, I can't just eat and do nothing. So when I was younger and I was still living at home, mom would eat in the living room on like a little TV tray table type of a thing, and she's watching TV. I would always have a magazine. I have like probably like a car magazine, like a computer magazine. And every time we go out to get groceries, I would go to the magazine section and I would pick up, you know, whatever magazine from that month that I didn't have. It'd be like Car and Driver or Road and Track or like PZ magazine or like whatever kind of the computer magazines were back then. I haven't bought magazines in ages. But I always have a magazine. I would read primarily during dinner. And like, my mom didn't like that I read magazines while I was eating, but the thing is that she was sitting in the living room eating her dinner, watching TV. So like, what's the difference? And now she's pulling out her phone to play Candy Crush while we're out at dinner. So there you go. I thought that was like really interesting. Yeah, so I bought her that, and she's about to just visit Macau again because Asia all kind of opened up this year. She's been back there. She went back once in the summer, and she's gonna go back again. You know, she's got family and relatives and stuff over there. And I got her a bunch of like a travel charger and a bunch of cables, so now she can charge her phone. She's gonna bring her phone now because she wants to play Candy Crush. She's gonna be over there for 3 weeks. She's gonna have some downtime. She's gonna want to play Candy Crush, and she's gonna bring her Nintendo Switch. So I got her a charging cable for both. I got her a case for the iPhone, but she didn't have a case for it. I got her a travel case for her Nintendo Switch, and I got her earbuds for both, so that when she's one of those people that turns the volume up when she plays games. Is that a normal thing? When you play games, do you turn up the volume, like the music? I don't know. Yeah, but whenever she plays at home, she like turns the volume up, and I was like, you can't do this when you're traveling and on a plane or in an airport. I need to get you earbuds. So I got her 2 sets of earbuds, and now she knows how to use it. She can charge the devices when she's traveling, and she has a case for both of them so that, you know, they don't get damaged. So every time I go back to visit mom, there's like some tech thing that I'm gonna do for her. I just don't know in advance. I just wish I got advance notice so I can like maybe just bring it to her from the US. Sometimes it's easier than having to run around all through Vancouver to find that kind of stuff. Yeah. The other interesting thing that came up, that doesn't usually, we're that typical Asian Chinese family that we don't talk about feelings and stuff very often. And this is some slightly this is some real talk. I don't really get along with my dad. My dad doesn't know it, but like we just never had a close relationship, to be really honest. Dad's getting to be of a particular age. My my sister gets along with my dad, but it's like my sister likes my dad, and my sister is dad's favorite. That's just what it is. My brother's the middle child, and my brother's a lot closer in age to my sister than me. And I don't think my brother like likes or dislikes my dad. Like he is just indifferent, just like, oh, it's dad. It's just that. So he just went back and visited dad because he's getting older. And then my sister wouldn't bug me about this, but my brother did bug me. Like he's bugged me the last time I visited just a little bit, and this time he also said like, like you should go back and visit dad. Like he's having trouble like walking and stuff now, just old age, right? This is not going to be a popular opinion because I think a lot of people have, like, either you have, I feel like a lot of people have one or three types of relationships with their family. Either they like their family and they have like either a very close or decently close connection or relationship with them, and they're on like a positive term, right? And they'll like visit their family and talk to them on the phone like regularly, every so often, right? I have to have with my mom and like my brother and sister and stuff, but not my dad. Or the other opposite extreme is you have little or no connection at all. Maybe like, it was a really rough childhood, and maybe your parents are not even people you talk to anymore, or people you actively do not want to associate with. That could be like the other extreme, right? And then I feel like for most people, there's that kind of category where you're not super close with your family, but there's nothing wrong with the relationship. There's no bad blood or anything. It's just that you're just not that close with them. You talk to them once in a while. You don't have to like go back for every single Thanksgiving or Christmas or whatever holiday, but you guys are like fine, right? So with me and my dad, it's kind of sort of more on like that. I want to say the word extreme, but like, I don't know. We barely talk. Like we barely talk. But here's the thing. I feel like some level of resentment towards my dad, but I don't feel like he was a very good father to me. The memories I have when I was really young of my interaction with him were just like him yelling at me to like do things that kids shouldn't even do, like empty his ashtray because he smokes. So on paper, I am thankful for things that he's done for the family. He was the breadwinner. He, he provided the family with like, the basic necessities and more. So I'm like thankful in a way for that, but I also know of, not so great things that he did for the family. Some of this through mom. And also my personal relationship with my dad is like, there's not much of a relationship. And I feel like it doesn't matter whose fault it is. Like the end result, whatever the cause was, is that I just didn't really have, when I was growing up, a great relationship with my dad. It was like a nearly non-existent relationship with my dad. I feel like maybe my brother and sister, they obviously have a different relationship with dad than I do. But when my brother's like, oh, you should go visit dad, like, he's starting to have health problems, blah, 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 I just don't want to. And I think this is like not a popular opinion, but it just sounds like I'm a huge brat that is completely unthankful for anything my dad has done for me. But the way I look at it is, like, every time he calls me on the phone, it's to make small talk. So I don't even pick up his phone calls anymore. If you're only calling me because you're retired and now you're bored and you don't even have anything real to say to me, I don't need to have that phone call. It sounds like I'm a cold-hearted bitch, which my close friends would probably tell you that's probably about accurate. But if the combination of our, father-son relationship is that you don't have time to invest in me to have a relationship with me until you're retired and bored, and now you want to have like 30 seconds of small talk from halfway around the world. Yeah, that's not, I don't need to invest in that, So yeah, I'm not gonna go visit dad because his health is whatever. Yeah, and it's not a popular opinion, and I don't think a lot of people could probably relate to the way I feel. Everyone's got their individual experience in their relationship with their parents, obviously. And I can hear all the people that are saying, you know what, you should be thankful your dad is still around. There's so many people that would be like thankful to even like have a dad or even know who their dad is or be able to like reach out to their dad and that kind of stuff. That's all fine and good. But for me, it kind of sort of feels like he was away in my memory, for the parts of my childhood that I can remember anyways, besides just like providing money and a roof over our heads, like he didn't do anything else. Like from my point of view, like never played with me, just like yells at me. Like he was away all the time. He was like always overseas. Yes, he was working, but the thing is like, he saw me so little, like the breaks between when he saw me is measured in like years, not like 1 or 2 years. It's like multiple years. Like from as far as like when I got to like the age of like 8 or 9, when I can kind of sort of like still remember kind of how things were. He visited so infrequently that it's besides the inflow of money and the roof over our heads, I didn't really have a dad. So it's kind of like, yeah, I can see the people that are like, well, you should just be glad you have a dad. You should like see him before he passes away, all that kind of stuff. I mean, that's just not the way I feel. Yeah, so it's a little messed up, to be really honest. I don't know if I want kids, but I'm not opposed to having kids. I don't want kids per se, but I'm open to the idea. But then sometimes I imagine, what kind of father would I want to be to a child? It's like, I think, well, everyone that doesn't think their dad was like the greatest dad always think they can do better, right? It's like, you see someone doing a job not to your liking, or you always think you can do a better job. It's like, that's anything in life. Could be the barista that's making your coffee, the waiter that's serving you the food, or like, whoever, right? The bus driver that's driving the bus. You think like, oh, this coffee is like too hot, or like, oh, that server is late with my glass of water, or whatever. You always think you can do better. So I think it's a little bit of that. The same with being a parent, which is like a full-time job in and of itself. Well, when you care to like fucking talk to your kid. So sometimes I think like, oh, since I have this like minimal, nearly non-existent relationship with my dad that I don't really care for, how, if I were to be a dad, like, how would that be so different? I mean, first of all, I wouldn't just like, well, we will get into that. This is getting this is getting really, really deep, and we're running out of time. But yeah, it's the first time where, the last time my brother brought up this topic to me, 2-3 months ago, I just like shrugged it off. I don't really want to, I was trying to avoid any sort of argument, and I don't want to like, I just want things to be peaceful. It's like, my beef with dad, I know is not shared by any other member of the family. So, and I feel like they can maybe understand, but there's like no use in trying to explain my point. My mom, I haven't talked about my mom with my mom about this, but I think my mom already knows like, I'm not gonna go back. I had a discussion around me traveling, and she was like, you don't have to like go out of your way to do it. So I think my mom's made the peace with it, and I think that's like the most I can ask for, is for my mom to make the peace with it. If my mom asked me though, like, go see your dad, I think that's the only way that I might actually do it. I would literally like go back for a day and then just fly out, and that's only if mom actually wanted me to do it. But my brother was like nudging me, oh, I should go back, and then I basically told him like, I'm not going, and he didn't ask why. And he didn't push for it, which I was like, a little surprised by, but I was like, okay, I'm not gonna do it because I don't want to. And it was the end of that discussion. So there you go. I'm not sad about it though. I think I don't really miss what I didn't have in a way. I'm not gonna say I had a rough childhood. You know, like mom was always there. Like I had my brother and my sister, but didn't always get along. You know, when you're 8 and your brother and sister are like, you know, like 15 and 17 or something like that. When you're an angsty teenager, you don't really care about your kid brother. So like, I don't hold out against them. You know, now that we're all like adults, like we get along fine and stuff. So I didn't have a bad childhood, but did I have any decent semblance of like a father-son relationship? No. So that's why I feel like, yeah, it's great. Okay, the income, you supported the family. I do appreciate that. Yeah, I'm not gonna go out of my way to like fly halfway around the world to see you though. Honestly, this is like the most cold-blooded like bitch moment that you're probably gonna see me at. And only like 3 of you watch this and hear this podcast. I don't expect any of you to come for me, but I will say though, like, I wouldn't, because of the experience that I have, you know, if someone isn't super cool with their family and stuff, and in the LGBTQ plus community, unfortunately, it's too common for us to hear about, parents not being super great with their kids because they're queer or because they're quote unquote different or whatever. Yeah, so I mean, I definitely have heard my share of those stories from other people. And, my relationship with my dad isn't brought on because I was queer, although I did hear some rumors from my mom about that. But yeah, you know what? It is what it is. And I've got my life now. He's got his life. And yeah, I'm just going to keep trucking and keep living it. So there you go. That's my relationship with my dad. All right, we're gonna wrap up now. Again, the video version of this podcast, if you maybe one day they will invent smell-o-vision, like has been rumored for so long. You can smell the Korean barbecue in my clothes. I need to go do laundry. I need to take a shower and then go do laundry right after this. So you can catch the video version of this podcast on my YouTube channel, Just Joey T, and on Spotify. But till next time, bye.